Hello, everybody. I'm Frodo.
Hello, everybody. I'm Legolas, and this is Sibling Rivalry.
Shouldn't you be Sam?
Home is now behind you. The world is ahead.
Actually, we're planning on not doing this again until after the new year, because we're gonna, build a little set and have all sorts of bells and whistles.
Giant robots with lasers. They're not needed, but it'll look cool.
That's his budget. But anyway, so unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you like the movie, The Hobbit came out. So we kind of have to talk about that. And
we can.
I'm just going to say this is an impromptu episode, so this is not like a big episode of Sibling Rivalry with all the bells and whistles. We're kind of just doing this for fun, and this is vlog style, but we just felt we had to talk about it because it is the movie of the year, unless you believe all that hype about Les Mis, but
That'll probably be the next review, because we're probably going to disagree about that.
Yeah, I don't like Les Mis.
I like Les Mis.
So we're probably going to do one for that as well. But the next couple episodes, while we're getting stuff set for a relaunch, is just going to be fun and impromptu. So, yeah, we saw The Hobbit, and I don't know. Doug, what did you think?
Okay, well, so in my opinion, I know I'm going to be a minority on this, but I don't give a fuck. Personally, this is my favorite of the Lord of the Rings movies, which I know sounds insane. But
are you serious?
Yes, okay, no, but here's why.
No.
Okay.
No.
I mean, first of all, we should talk a little bit about what it is. It's a much smaller story than the other Lord of the Rings. I mean, you're not going to see big epic battles.
Yet somehow much longer.
Castles. That is a little odd. Just a touch. To be fair, having only read one of the Tolkien books, I only read Fellowship, but I know there are stories. For me, this is the Lord of the Rings movie I always wanted to see. Okay, first let's talk about the fact that the camera actually stays the fuck still. And I know it sounds like just a very minor thing.
For long periods of time.
No, but here's the thing. This is the thing, people are gonna be like, oh, why isn't it zooming around? And why is it either looking really pretty or really threatening? And why are there shots of Gandalf saying, keep it secret, keep it safe? Or Bilbo going, I should have done this a long time ago. Or Elijah Wood going, Strider. Those really obnoxious close-ups that can't just let a scene play. This movie finally, in my opinion, lets characters breathe, and it actually lets a scene just play out. And to me, it feels like the first time you can actually breathe in this world. This world felt believable.
Okay, I give you that. You felt like you could breathe in this world and you weren't being breathed on. But
that's a very good way of putting it, Alec.
A close-up or not, or keeping a camera still does not characters make. That has nothing to... I'm glad they slowed the camera down. That's fine. They slowed every scene down too, though. But to a snail's pace.
But I like that in this movie because, again, it gave... Unlike the other movies, and I do like the other movies, let me get that right. I do like them, but it always felt like, okay, well, now we have to go over here and do this. Well, now we have to go over here and do this. And I understand that. It's supposed to be an action film. It's supposed to be, the castles and the armies and stuff like that.
It's called Things Happening.
No, but it's supposed to start off simple. And I never felt it did start off simple. That's what I like about this one. It did have the grand backstory, which was cool. That backstory was awesome. This started off
simple?
No, the backstory was...
If I didn't read The Hobbit, I would have been thoroughly confused. I was like...
I haven't read The Hobbit. I followed it fine.
Here's 12 dwarves. This is Thorin, son of Fundin, son of Mickey, friend of Balin, son of, and his grandfather was killed by Azog, but that was before Smaug came and attacked Erebor. I was sitting there, I was like, I've read The Hobbit a number of times, and I'm like, I would be lost.
I've never read The Hobbit. I followed it fine. The only thing I couldn't understand is what the hell does the dragon want with gold? That's the only thing I don't understand.
It's a freaking dragon.
Just dragons want gold. They need their bling. But
really, if you're looking for any more explanation, the book's not going to provide it either. That was pretty much as he...
Well,
I think that's part of the problem with... that's part of the problem with the movie. It's a children's story. It's meant for kids. You know what? You set yourself up right there because you said, this is the Lord of the Rings movie I wanted. This isn't Lord of the Rings. It's not. It was never meant to be like this. He didn't write it like this. It was not meant to be this big, giant epic. It is a kid's tale, a yarn where a wizard and 12 dwarves and a little tiny man go save some gold from a dragon. And there are goblins and elves and big giant bear people and trolls with Cockney accents.
But you know that they would not be able to get away with that if they want to tell the story like how Tolkien originally told it, which was very simple.
Then don't make it!
For someone who did not read the book, I know the basic premise, but I did not read the book. Not only could I follow it very well, but I was actually intrigued, say, like, with the dwarves and the elves, with why that prejudice was there. This movie shows why that prejudice was there. I found that really fascinating, how the elves did not come and help them in the beginning.
That's fine. There's some things that Jackson does right, and I'm going to be thumping on Jackson, and this is going to turn into probably a long hour-sized rant, but...
We will go Noah Antweiler on your asses.
Yeah, this is going to be like a Noah vlog. There are things that Jackson did right in this film, and there are things that he does perfectly in this film. But it's a matter of tone. There is no consistent tone in this film.
I thought there was.
Who is this film made for?
It's made for fans of the Lord of the Rings movies. I would actually argue it's probably not made for fans of the original book, from what I understand about it.
But if you're making something for fans of the Lord of the Rings movie, you have a giant Phantom Menace-style Goblin King with the giant jowls. I kept wanting
the ball sack chin, right?
Yeah, the ball sack chin sitting there. You know, I kept wanting him to go, "We said don't like dwarves."
Hey, that guy was awesome. Come on, I like that guy.
No.
Okay.
I mean, here's the thing. If you were making a kid's film, yes. If you're making a kid's film, 1 second we have trolls with Cockney accents go, what are we going to do? Are we going to eat them or not? We have, you know, the freaking goblin going, ooh, da dee dee, we're going to sing a song. And then 10 seconds later, there are these hideously looking orcs chopping heads off. Like, there is no tone in this whatsoever. It's not for kids.
People know they're going to see that when they see Lord of the Rings. Any Lord of the Rings now. I mean, like I said, I didn't expect
Then why did I have... Okay, fine. So, and this is my problem. If I wanted to see a Lord of the Rings movie, that's fine. You can make it like a Lord of the Rings movie. I have no problem with that. Then make it like a Lord of the Rings movie. I don't want to sit there and watch some troll blow snot all over Bilbo, or frickin' bad dwarf humor, or a bunch of dwarves belching into a jar or whatever. Those things are for kids.
You saw that in the other films, though. Tell me all the times Gimli didn't belch or fart and stuff like that. Legolas riding the skateboard shield down and stuff like that. Nobody touches a dwarf. That is all crap for kids.
Incredibly, stupidly awesome when it came to Legolas.
Oh, come on!
No,
that's stupid!
No, actually, I completely agree with you. Those were the things I hated about the Lord of the Rings movie.
There you go, it's a Lord of the Rings movie.
No, but this is way worse. Because now you've got... Okay, who is the weakest character in the Lord of the Rings films?
Probably Gimli.
Gimli? Who do we have in this movie?
Like 12 Gimlis.
12 Gimlis.
Except for the one quote.
Except for Thorin. And Balin's not too bad.
In fact, I take it back a little bit, and actually this is the one thing I will also say is a weakness, where in this film I really thought, you know, we got to know a lot of these, like I said, these people seem a little bit more believable and credible, except for the majority of the dwarves. Except for the majority of the dwarves, who just all sort of blend into one Gimli, with the exception of a couple.
Which is a problem with the
problem.
book, because the book you had about 4 or 5 dwarves that had pretty clear personalities, and the rest have silly names.
I would have liked if they gave them a little bit more personality, or just cut
happy Doc. You know, the rest just kind of blended. I mean, even in the funniest thing is, somebody was telling me, they're like, well, and they did that cheap shot where just all of the dwarves just tumble in at once, and they're just like, and the rest? I'm like, the book did that. Like, the book pretty much had that happen, where it's like, and then there were these other dwarves. So, but that's my problem. It's just like, if you're going to do this, then you have to change the book in such a way that it makes the film better. And it didn't. It actually made it worse. Things he should have changed, he didn't, and things that weren't necessary, he threw in. I don't need to see Saruman and Galadriel having this big, like, debate at a round table. The movie just ground to a halt. It's not like Fellowship, where at least it's like, we're going to decide the fate of mankind. No, it's, this weird guy says there's like this necromancer somewhere, and well, obviously, yes, but if this will the senator yield? Like, it's ridiculous.
First of all, we did have that Fellowship of the Ring, and it was exactly what you just said, where everyone's talking to. Let's get rid of this thing.
Except it meant something.
It could have taken 2 seconds, and that scene did have a purpose. By the way, now serving as a distraction for the dwarves to leave.
Here's the major difference. That scene in Rivendell in Fellowship of the Ring set up 2 more movies. What did this scene do in this film?
It allowed the dwarves to escape. And
brilliant.
I think you could also establish. Here's what I liked about that scene too, is that it finally allowed us, and this always bothered me, at least in the movies. The book, I think they explain a little bit more, but Saruman, from the minute you see this fucker and his giant evil castle that Bowser would live in, you say, that's a bad guy. I like for once you actually see him having a conversation, like having them meet up, and you can see, how these people were friends and how they talked and stuff like that.
That would be great in the extended edition DVD. When I'm
just
sitting
imagine
there,
this is the extended edition that every geek wants to see.
No, and this is where Jackson got it right. He's like, I'm making a movie here. I am not making something that is entirely for Tolkien purists. I'm sorry. I love Tolkien. I have read the Silmarillion thrice. I use words like thrice. So know that this is where I'm coming from. Any of you guys on the message boards, it's like, you just don't understand.
No, he's diehard.
No, I do. I have the history of Middle Earth, like Christopher Tolkien's books, talking about how the books were written. It's about how the books were written. I own them. I've read them twice. So don't give me that. I am telling you straight up, there was too much Tolkien in this movie. There are too many side quests, side stories. It's like I'm playing a game of Skyrim in the movie theater. It's like you're going one way and then you ran...
People like Skyrim and they like those worlds.
They like Skyrim because they can choose what quest they want to go on. If a quest looks boring, I can be like, I will ignore this quest and go on my own and do something else. When you try to make a narrative that goes from point A to point B, you just can't get sidetracked like that, or you have to construct your narrative in a better way. I know you're just like, I'm so glad that they spent time in Hobbiton. They needed to get the hell on the road, for
You're
God's
telling me
sake.
that the Lord of the Rings movies actually went from A to B. The trilogy went from A to B with no diversions, no sidetracking at all.
I'm saying the original director's cut did it better than the extended edition, and I'm okay with that because the extended edition is for the purists, for the fans, or for people who are just like, you know what, I want more. Sitting in the movie theater and watching the extended edition later, I'm like, I know why most of these scenes were cut. Some I would have preferred there, but the bulk of them, I'm like, you know what, no, this was not absolutely necessary to telling your base story.
Okay,
it just wasn't.
You say this, you ask, why is this movie made? They shouldn't have made this movie. And you're saying, well, then this movie is only for purists of Tolkien. Why can't it just be for purists of Tolkien, then?
Fine. That does not make it a
purist, by the way.
That does not make it a good movie, though. That makes it a great fanfic, a great fan interpretation. It would make a great miniseries. Like, I was looking at this, I was like, obviously what Peter Jackson just wanted to do was make an HBO-style miniseries. You could divide this up into 9 to 12 episodes, and it would work, because you have the ability after an hour to pause and say, hey, or wait till next week. I reread that entire section where they got up to in the movies. There are more minutes in the movie than there are pages in the book for the first... How do you do that? How is that physically possible?
They take their time and have the characters be likable. And they add stuff that's probably not necessary, but it's nice to see.
They add a ton of things from the appendices that had nothing to do with the story that Tolkien admitted was not necessary to the story. Okay, let me tell you this. Tolkien in 1960 decided to rewrite The Hobbit. He's like, he looked at Lord of the Rings, he looked at The Hobbit, he's like, you know what, I wrote this as a story for my child. By the way, what is a children's story? What is a bedtime story? What's it supposed to be? To put your kids to sleep.
Well, then this film does great, according to you, doesn't it?
Well, it does great if that's what you want, but I don't want that from my movie. And he decided, he's like, you know what, they don't sync up. He's like, this is not working. I will rewrite The Hobbit so it matches Lord of the Rings. He got like a quarter of the way through it, and he's like, I can't do this. He's like, people are complaining, and rightfully so, this isn't The Hobbit. What was this cute little kid story now just is something else entirely. So that's my problem. You either have to go all out and say, I am doing a kid's film like the original story, or I am doing this like Lord of the Rings. As it stands, it's too messy and too much humor aimed at kids. And I'm sorry, it is way worse than Lord of the Rings was. Lord of the Rings had dumb moments. Dumb moments. I don't remember trolls snorting all over hobbits, and like this just got really lowbrow, and the kids loved it. Then for entire 20-minute stretches, you want to know what happened while I was in the cinema? I had kids talking and kicking the back of my seat. You want to know why? Because they don't give a crap who Thorin's father is. That's why. And they don't give a crap about Saruman talking to Gandalf about how no, the dwarves should go in this quest, and oh, the necromancer's like we're in, and how do we know this is the Morgul blade?
But all the films have had a mix. I mean, this is sort of the upside downside of what Peter Jackson has to do. Is that it has to appeal to so many people. It has to appeal to the fans of Lord of the Rings. It has to appeal to adults. It has to appeal to children. It has to get that teenage demographic. It has to get people like action. It has to get people into fantasy. And I thought for the most part, the Lord of the Rings, I think, is a cluttered mess, but I like it, and I think it works out okay. He
balanced it so much better in Lord of the Rings.
I thought this was so much nicer.
But all of the changes, and I know, I get it, I've sat there on message boards when people are just like, the elves weren't at Helm's Deep, and that was in Arwen, I was Glorfindel. I don't care. You have to write a narrative that goes from one point to another, and if you have moments from the book that are just like, this is just unfilmable, or this does not serve the main plot, you reconstruct it. And he reconstructed so much in Lord of the Rings that actually made the story better from a cinematic perspective. He did little of that here. Radagast is in this. He's the third wizard that was mentioned in the appendices. Gandalf mentions him once.
Weird. That was weird.
All I can tell you is from reading the books and the little entries about him, I got this image of like a hermit, a St. Francis of Assisi type who likes animals, who is a little odd, but, you know, still kind of together and still a wizard.
That made it a little too goofy.
We're not in Jar Jar Binks territory, but I swear to God, when they brought out the rabbit sled, I can tell you that even Tolkien at his most like juvenile moments in The Hobbit, I don't think would have been like sled of rabbits. I don't.
What was that in the book then? The rabbit sled.
I do not know, because Radagast wasn't in it.
I mean, or just anything. Wasn't ever said they had a rabbit sled? Because I would acknowledge that was silly. That was really silly.
I don't remember that at all.
Okay. Let's put it this way. For a film, I mean, I think we can both agree the first film is, first book is a children's book. And it was written for children. It's written very simply. There's a ton of stuff that does not add up. Like, how come trolls in the Lord of the Rings can't talk? You know, what the hell does a dragon want with gold and stuff? I mean, this is clearly stuff that's for a kid's book, you know. But I think we can acknowledge for a film that, you're probably right, does not need to exist, I think it's very well done. And I think it captures so much of Tolkien that those other films could not capture.
I think it would have been very well done if it were like 2 hours short. Okay, let me put it this way. If this film ended and I knew there was only one film left and we were at the halfway point in the story, I would probably be more forgiving. Jesus Christ, there are German operas that are shorter than this thing, and those things are like 4 or 5 days.
Okay, did you like when all the dwarves sang the song that's in the trailer?
I did.
Okay, what was the point? You could have cut that, wouldn't have missed a thing.
I think it added atmosphere to the scene.
Exactly. That's what the other stuff does too. It adds atmosphere. It allows these characters to be characters that you can like and you want to watch them on their journey.
It's the same problem I had with Fantasia 2000, which is any one of those individual bits and scenes from Fantasia 2000, it's fun. Oh, whales flying. Oh, a little toy. When you add them up together, they all add up to something that's just like, this is all kind of more of the same, and you needed to cut it down and pick your best moments.
Okay, so we've rambled for a pretty long time here, you know, just talking about what we like. No, people love to hear this stuff. I say, just last minute thoughts, anything else you want to say about the movie, just final thoughts on the film?
This was... I'll give you 2 films. Like, I'll say, if you want to do 2 films, I get it. You want to flesh out appendices, fine. You got to do it right. This should have been 2 films at 2.5 hours each. Tops. That's tops. Probably could have done this in 2 hours each. Peter Jackson did such a great job of finding a coherent narrative where, come on, Tolkien purists, let's be honest, there was none. In Lord of the Rings, and he just can't do it here. Things that he didn't need to be there that were from the appendices are there. I get the stuff with the necromancer. I won't spoil it for you guys that haven't read the books or the appendices or whatever, but yes, there is sort of a point, but you have to find a way to do it right and mesh with the narrative. And as it stands in this film, it's a giant detour and an hour and a half to get to chapter 2. I mean, that's all I can say for a book that is just, it's a light read. Like, you just did not need to do this. It's like taking Mary Poppins and turning it into this, like, 8-hour-long epic. Like,
It is, the Broadway version.
Well, imagine 3 Broadway version shows, then you got it. It's like, this should have been a fun little thing, and he does get a number of things right, and the acting is great. I'd say even better than, in some cases, than even the other films. Particularly Gandalf is a little nicer, and, but yeah, it's just so long when it just didn't need to be, much like this rant, so... You got bored by this rant, now you know I felt during the movie.
As you probably know, I really enjoyed it for the reasons that actually allow which he listed. I do like the length because it allowed characters to breathe. I felt like I could know these people better. It allowed performances to shine through. It allowed me to feel like I could breathe in this world. And for me, that's always what I think Tolkien is about. It is about living in these worlds. And a lot of stuff I do agree with as well. It's not as big a film. It's not as driven by story, and there are a lot of detours. But for someone that, if you love that world and you want to be in that world, I say you'll probably like this film. I think I will be a minority of the one that likes this one the most out of the others, and I will agree, I don't know how they're going to make 2 other films out of this either. But you know what? I'll wait and see what they have in store, and hopefully it'll be good stuff. I really liked it. Would you say go see it?
If you were a fan of Lord of the Rings, I would see it once. But I mean, as somebody who's a die-hard Lord of the Rings fan, that's saying something for me. I'm like, you can see it once and probably be satisfied. And I saw it in 28 frames per second, so I have no idea. There's this great debate: is it better to see it in 48 frames per second or scrub your eyes out with steel wool? But I just saw it in the normal version, and
Yeah, me too.
it looked crisp and good, but like the effects, the resolution was so high, and the CGI effects in particular, I can only imagine it's going to be worse with the higher frame rate. So,
yeah, and I think you know what I think of it. You know what I enjoy, and you can probably get a grasp of if that's what you would enjoy as well. So
and I don't disagree with him in theory. I'm just saying you got to pace your film right. You can totally let characters breathe, but you need to have some sort of momentum, and you need to have some sense of story from a short story. Like, when you take a short story and you pace it wrong and you make it 6 hours long, there's no real excuse for that. So,
well, I liked it. So until
I won't. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion. So just, it's subjective, and you're wrong.
I'm Doug Walker, and he was an ass,
And he's wrong.
but he's still an ass, and I'm right.